All right, Marcy Axelrod, welcome to Beyond Fulfillment.
Dave, what an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I appreciate you taking the time. So, Marcy, you are quite an accomplished entrepreneur, speaker, author, et cetera, et cetera. And you've got quite an interesting backstory how you got into all this. So, if you would, just to set the stage for our listeners, can you talk about your backstory and how you became an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. I think I was born an entrepreneur because of how I see the world. You know, any struggle that we have when we're young wires our brain a certain way, right? How do we make our way through those early years of struggle? That's what defines an entrepreneur. Do you figure it out yourself? Are you resourceful? Do you believe in yourself? Do you let your true self show? Do you honor that? That is an entrepreneur. That is someone who fully understands whatever it is. You know, I'm not going to be thrown anything I can't handle. So with me, my story just happened to be, I'm 6 years old. My father got an unbelievable opportunity to start the first department of nuclear medicine at Mass General. That's Harvard. And we moved. And little Marcy, out of the blue, new house, new school, no more, the friends are left behind. Mom and dad super busy. My siblings, weren't at all focused on me. So I needed help. And instead of acting out, which isn't my thing, I kind of acted in. So that, compote of genetics and environment conspired, and I just started to stutter. It was my way of raising my hand, saying, I need some attention, I need some support. And ultimately what it turned into are the most unbelievable gifts. For example, at age 6, when in first grade, the teacher would ask a question and my hand would go up. And what I learned right then and there, hearing everyone else go, ugh, is that we're not separate. They're feeling the feeling of knowing at some point today the teacher's going to have to call on Marcy. And my feeling them. And I realized, well, their body's over there and I'm here. And, the language that we're taught kind of makes us feel like we're separate and teaches us that we're separate. But I'm right now feeling them feeling me. We're not separate. That was a huge thing. You want to be an entrepreneur, know that you're impacting the world at every moment. Know that everyone is with you and for you, as long as you are with and for them, right? As Einstein asked, is this a friendly universe or is this a hostile universe? If you're in that world, that like MBA world, dog eat dog, there's one job and a million people applying and I have to compete against the people I care about from school and all this stuff. Forget about it. Because now you're living in fear and you're acting in fear. And everything that you put out is going to be a version of those conflicted emotions, right? And it turns out what Einstein actually got the Nobel Prize for. No, it's not a kind universe. But Dave, it's not a hostile one either. It's a self-reflective universe. When you show up to your professional world as I'm going to create value for others, let me see how I can make what that person wants to achieve a little easier and better for them. That is how the world works. It is self-reflective back, and people will trust you. And you'll be the one who they call. And you'll be the one who gets the message. And you'll be the one that they think of when, we need an expert on our team who can do this, or we need someone who can do that. You'll get the call. So my struggle didn't just teach me that we're not separate, that we're intra and interconnected beings. It also taught me when I was at age 12, offered this new program at this rehabilitation hospital. Supposedly I was going to, learn to speak. I didn't learn it there. But what I noticed is that people were struggling to show up as they chose. These are people who had strokes. They were learning simple things. Hold a fork, sit, stand. They have experts by their side. They have these charts with all these plans of exactly what to do. And yet they were still struggling to show up as they chose. That was my second message about that. in back in first grade, when it was so painful to be me, what I did, feeling others feeling my pain, is my self lens, and this is critical to be a successful person. My self lens turned outward. If I can't show up as I choose, how is everyone else choosing to show up? And I became this endless and avid disciple of how everyone else is showing up. What do you see when you're young? You see the bully over there. You see the scaredy cat over there. You see the little kid who can't even, take a step into the 4-square block and even play the game. You see the teachers doing nothing about it, right? And that's when I said to myself, no. Here's everyone throwing their show-up choices away. Here's people struggling to understand, how do you show up as you choose, right? Where's the roadmap? Where's the blueprint? So that became this book, How We Choose to Show Up. 30 plus years of research. I really started researching human behavior and psychology and neuroscience when I was 12 years old, at that rehabilitation hospital, supposedly learning to speak. And, when something is in you that deep, when you read a page, you remember what it says and it becomes who you are. So I discovered, discovered, there's a 3-part model to how humans are designed to show up, to thrive. And I'd be happy to get into that. But that's my story. And what it led me to do, I went straight from Cornell to Wall Street. I was recruited by Lehman Brothers into a position there. Didn't really matter what it was, Dave. And here's a key thing for your listeners. It didn't matter what it was, because I was going to make it what I wanted it to be. I was going to make it one that used my interests, my strengths. It played to truly who I am, so that there's no one competing. And I'll tell you, Dave, that's exactly what happened. Within about 6 weeks of doing the job I was hired for at Lehman, which, by the way, was not what I wanted to do, this woman came. I didn't know this. She was head of HR. She walks over and she takes my hand and she says, "Come with me." And she walks me down the hall into this back office that I didn't even know existed. And she introduces me to an SVP named Gary Rosenthal. And she said, "Gary, this is Marcy. Marcy, this is Gary." And she left. So I looked at Gary. I'm like, okay, what is it that you need? What do you need help with? And what he said to me is, so he was managing stock portfolios for individuals and firms, all names you know. If I were to mention who these people are, you'd say, yeah, I know who these people are. And he said to me, Marcy, sometimes I zig when I'm supposed to zag, meaning he buys when he's supposed to sell or sells when he's, right, for their portfolios. And that impacts performance, of course. And so I said, okay, so that's the problem that I'm going to solve. And I spent the next number of weeks figuring out, how do we answer that? What will help us with timing when it comes to buying and selling stocks? And that's when I found a bunch of resources that companies like Lehman and all the big money managers use. And I said to them, this is me, and I'm calling from Lehman, and we may become a client of yours, and I'd like you to show me why we should utilize the resources that you have. And at the time, it was these stock charts. And they all competed for my business, and they all taught me as best they could how to use what they had to offer. And we subscribed to one of the products, and the portfolios did extremely well. And I was walking in and finding checks on my desk. Checks, thousands of dollars out of the blue. So I'm going to pause there, but
okay.
That's an example of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Right. A lot to unpack there. And you even said, I think before we started recording, you said an entrepreneur is not what you do, but it's who you are.
Yep.
So you have this early trauma with the stuttering and, whatnot. You turn the lens outward. You become an avid observer, looking intensely at how everyone else is showing up and really increasing your awareness. And then you go through school, you get into Cornell, and out of Cornell, you're recruited right to Lehman. And then how did they even find you that you would be the right person to help Gary with these portfolio needs?
Right. So all schools have these kind of meet and greets where the companies come onto campus and they give you their, their little presentation about why they're so great and what they need new people to do. And of course, they probably overpromise, you're going to have all this authority and do all these important things. Yeah. So I just went to one of those. I mean, I went to the Morgan Stanley, the Goldman Sachs, the Lehman. I went to all of the Wall Street ones because psychology, like understanding how humans choose to show up was always my fascination and passion. And to me, I mean, it's really bizarre. For every person who chooses to buy a single stock, there's someone who thinks it's a time to dump that damn thing, right? This fascinated me, right? Where is it that you can see the different perspectives play out moment by moment with billions or trillions of dollars? So that's why I wanted to go to Wall Street. And that's where I met them. And yeah, so I just showed up to one of those. But of course, what you have to do, though, is you have to make yourself known. I mean, after their spiel, you walk right up to the person who you want to remember you. And you have a good question in mind, right? And hopefully something no one else has asked. And you show an intensity of listening, and you show an openness, and you show an amiability, right? I mean, you make yourself someone they want to work with.
Okay. So, and you have this attitude too, where, like you said, with Einstein, it's a self-reflective universe. And if you make the decision that you're going to create value for others, then that's going to be reflected back to you. And thus the story with how you helped him and the checks and all that. So you get off to a great start at Lehman. And then what happens?
I mean, more of the same. I mean, I did the exact same thing for a decade at KPMG Consulting. Get this, right? The pinnacle of the pyramid, right? High-tech strategy in Silicon Valley for a top 4 global management consulting firm with no background in management consulting. Well, actually, I worked with a professor in business school doing management consulting, but I didn't, it wasn't with a firm. So anyway, I met someone at a party and who worked at KPMG Consulting in Silicon Valley. And they said, we need people. And I said, well, make me an offer worth my while. So they said, come on in. So I came in, nailed the interview, and had a very steep learning curve. But, I was always asking different questions. Why are we doing this? Why did we scope the work this way? What is it that the client really said their problem was? And the senior people really appreciated that because it helped them to reflect on, why are we doing this approach? What is it that they really want done? My perspective was always a little bit different because human beings are going to show up and do various things. They're going to choose to do things. What leads them to choose these things? And what assumptions were made? So if it was kind of an internally focused corporate effectiveness piece of work, what are we assuming about what people are going to do that led to the project being structured a certain way? So anyway, I distinguished myself immediately because I was interested in the bigger picture and had a very kind of human behavioral approach. By the way, this is a tangent, but it's important for people to hear. I do not believe in a behavioral approach to behavior change. So if someone wants to grow and change, it's not going to be what you choose to do. It's going to be who you choose to be. That's a whole different thing. But anyway, that's what made me very successful at KPMG Consulting. I started to sell work. Within the first year, I was selling my own work, defining my own approach, choosing my own team members for my team, choosing the people who basically trained me, who trained my team. And then it got to a point where people around the world from KPMG were contacting me saying, what someone just told me is that I need to be on a project with you before they'll let me be on their team. Because you're the one who's viewed as, once you're on a project with me, you know what you're doing. And, so that was just very affirming. And I basically created my own little fiefdom within a bigger firm. I got to use the brand name. And I did that for 10 years. And I loved it. If I wanted to live in, Australia for a year, I would talk to people selling work out there, maybe do a sub project under someone else out there first, and then sell a follow-on piece of work that I lead with my own team, that sort of thing. So you can you can be an entrepreneur within a big brand.
Hey, let me tell you about Max Capital Hub. If you're an entrepreneur trying to get funding, but your credit's holding you back, these are the people to call. They do business loans, business funding, and they'll actually help you clean up your credit so you qualify for more. They're not just handing you paperwork, their team builds an actual strategy around your business. So if you've been stuck or the bank has told you no, give Max Capital Hub a call or book a free consultation at maxcapitalhub.com. Tell them I sent you. Wow, and yeah, you've proven that. You've proven that. Okay, so you're at KPMG for a decade, and then what happens?
I left KPMG Consulting, and my clients still had my phone number, so they were still calling. And I said no for a long time because I had young kids at the time. And then I finally said to myself, I wonder if my colleagues are available. Like, where are these people? Let's be in touch. Like, hey, if I sell this piece of work, would you want to be on the team? And I kind of convinced myself that, I can sell this piece of work, and I can do this piece of work with people I trust and know. And I can sell it for half as much and still make even more than I was before. So I started to do that. I didn't want to be busy 80 hours a week. I didn't want to live on airplanes anymore, but I, made it work whenever and wherever I wanted. For the next almost 10 years, until I realized I got to get this book done. Because it was in me. So almost every strategy project I did global research. And when you do global research, you can ask a lot of questions. And I realized that around the world, people know what they want to do to achieve. They think they know how to achieve. They know what gets in the way, and they're stuck. So basically, people know how they want to show up, but they can't. And I said to myself, this data has been too consistent for too long. I've got hundreds of thousands of data points from every survey we've done. PhD level statisticians slicing and dicing the data for me. I just need to write this thing. So this book came out in 2024. It was a bestseller in 2 or 3 categories instantly. Mel Robbins, if you know who she is, Mel Robbins wrote the quote on the cover.
Wow, okay.
Before that, I had done 2 TED Talks, which were, by the way, easy to get. I sent out 18 applications in a week. I got 2 yeses. When you're, and this is a really critical point, Dave. When you are living your truth and you're putting out there something that contributes, it's almost like the universe lines up to support you. I mean, people say, my God, I've sent out hundreds of applications to TED Talks, never got even a nibble. And I say, let me help you, right? And we figure out very quickly how it needs to shift. Right? Because most people live in some version of, I need to be seen as a certain thing. I'm lesser than, I'm better than, or I deserve. If you're living in any of that and that's guiding a decision, you're going uphill in a big way, and it's not going to change. If you're a victim of some kind of fear or wiring from the past that you haven't figured out, that's going to be in your way in a big way. So you don't want to be victim Vinny. I recently studied with Peter Sage, who was great. So these are some of his phrases, victim Vinny, where life happens to you, right? And then you get off of that, you get onto the treadmill of a ladder within a corporation. No. Then you're living by me. Everything is by me. I mean, come on. Then you become exhausted and burned out. And at the end of each day, you say, what the hell am I doing? Right? This isn't my life. Then you're the parent you don't want to be. You're the partner you don't want to be. Your relationships are thin. Anyway, you need to live more in through me. And I started to live in through me when I couldn't speak, because it's they're feeling me feeling them. I want them to feel great when they feel me. I want them to feel love for humanity. I want them to feel confident. I want them to feel peaceful. So that shaped me really young. And if people who listen take this with them, they will be doing a version of Truly Showing Up, which we can get into if you want to.
If you're still trying to hire locally for every role on your team, you're leaving serious money on the table. Ocean's Talent places AI fluent executive operators. We're talking finance, marketing, operations, EAs, fully vetted, full-time, and dedicated to your business. These aren't freelancers or shared resources. They're U.S. caliber talent at a fraction of the cost, backed by a 3-month guarantee. And right now, Beyond Fulfillment listeners get $1,000 off their first hire. Go to oceanstalent.com/Dave to claim it. Okay. Wow. So much there. So the book was in. So after you did all this independent consulting, after KPMG, right? Something told you had to get this book out. And then like the TED Talks too, right? Because I've heard from so many people the journey or how hard it is. And you said it was so easy. You got it within a week, right? And it's 2 within a week.
And I feel like I can do 6 more, 10 more. Like I asked myself the question, okay, you've done 2. Now what? Where do you want to invest the moments that you have? And then I stopped. I mean, I may do more now just because I feel like Showing Up has matured. My TED Talks are a really, really early version of the message. So I may put out there a more sophisticated, nuanced message.
So let's just take some lessons from the book for the audience, right? Because so many entrepreneurs are, struggling, and we hear about the resilience and the grit and all these crazy stories of what people go through. And you're kind of coming with a different message where if you just show up as your authentic self, that the universe is going to line up to support you. So let's give some tips on how people can get out of maybe that struggle mindset, or maybe make that shift to where they can be more authentic and make it easier for themselves.
Definitely. You said a lot that I need to comment on. So it isn't just show up. Just showing up is level 2. That's being kind of sleepwalking through life, not really there. That's level 2, just showing up, which you don't want to do. You want to, here, I will show you the continuum and the model. It's very simple. And by the way, you can't really say there's a right or wrong. Quality levels are inherent in everything, Dave. Everyone knows that, right? So I put level 1, 2, 3 on human behavior because human behavior is no different. But these levels exist in nature, in everything. Like humans are nature. Our behavior is nature, and it's governed by the laws of nature. So right there's a lot for people to sink their teeth into. So this is level 1, 2, and 3. Barely there is red. Just showing up is that vast no man's land that most of us live in most of the time. In fact, 80% of us just show up 80% of the time, according to my research. And level 3 is truly showing up. And what I explain here is that we're in 3 roles at every moment. I'll send you some slides, Dave, that you can use for show notes that people can download. We're in 3 roles at every moment. Okay, you're not an individualized self, right? That's what I figured out when I was 6. You can look at someone you've never seen for a millisecond and know what they feel. Are you really an individualized self? Well, somewhat, but you're also extremely interconnected. The metaphor that I use, you take your spoon, you put it into the ocean. Now you have a spoonful of ocean, right? Sure, it's separate from the ocean, but it's a unique instance of everything that has ever gone on in that ocean. That's what we are. Right, and I have a lot of studies that I mentioned in the book explaining literally interpersonal neural synchronization, how we become one mind.
So between, just showing up. Now, you said 80% are just showing up. I assume that means just kind of going through the motions, right? Not really.
Right, so you wake up. What most people do is exactly what they did yesterday. They think the same thoughts as yesterday. They do the same things. They have the same concerns. They greet people the same way. Why? Because there's, some version of stressor, not enough sleep, not enough nutrition, maybe not enough clarity of your priorities and the values that underlie them. And we just default. Not enough kind of intentionality in how do you want to live these moments? Because look, at every moment, you are impacting the world. This is the work of Nicholas Christakis, who runs the Human Behavior Lab up at Yale. He's a doctor. He is a psychologist who runs that lab. Oh, and an MD. And he's the one who showed that the 20 people closest to you are 45% more likely to do what you do. And then the 20 people around those 20 are 25% more likely to do what you do. We're up to 400 now, 400 people. And then the 20 people around those 400, we're up to 8,000 people now, are 10% more likely to do what you do. He measured this with things like voting, with risk-taking behaviors like smoking, with staying married, with whether you exercise, with body size. Anyway, the point is you are never not showing up, right? So you're impacting the world at every moment. We have to be responsible and accountable for that. Remember, the world is showing up to you as you show up to the world. I mean, it's like a Mobius strip, that infinity symbol where you're going around. The touch point in the middle is the situations that you're in, and then you go around, and then you come back, and you relive it through others. How others treat you is about how you show up to them. What opportunities show up for you is about the value that you're creating for others and for society.
Quick word from today's partner, NordVPN. Building a business means working from anywhere. Coffee shops, airports, hotel Wi-Fi. NordVPN encrypts your connection and protects your data in over 100 countries, all with one tap. Grab the link in the show notes for a big discount and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now back to the show. Okay, so how does someone go from level 2 to level 3?
The first thing that you do is you calm your body. Because you cannot level 3 truly show up, which is being focused, being joyful, being grateful, being creative, with people feeling your positive energy so that they remember you and being open to you. You can't get there if you're stressed, because then you've got the beta brain waves in your mind and your nervous system is on some version of alert. And what happens is what you see goes from this broad, expansive, incredible opportunity space into this like little narrow, oh my God, I'm being chased by a tiger type of thing. So the first thing you have to do is relax yourself and reset. You can do that with breathing, 5 in, hold for 5, out for 5. Do that for a few minutes. You can do it with a walk in nature. You can journal. Calm your body. The second thing then is bring yourself into a real openness. Think about someone you love, something that makes you happy, and then have in mind, what are the parts of my day that matter the most? Where do I want to truly show up? Because you can't do it all day. If you can do it for 20 or 30% of your day, you're golden. So who are the people and what are the times? Is it your 3 o'clock meeting with the boss? Is it when you get home and greet your children? Is it when you first get up because you want to get to the gym? You really want to get there. Or you want to put on your running shoes. What are the times of your day where you want to truly show up? Have that in mind in advance and prepare yourself. What does it look like? What does it mean? Do you want to show up with a smile? Do you want to remember something that person told you and ask them about it so that your thoughtfulness shows up, right? So now you've got a calm body and you're prepared. And do that and see what happens. Reflect on it. There are 3 beliefs, by the way, about how the world works that you have to carry in you to be who you want to be. right? And I've already told you what they are. Number one, you really have to understand it's a self-reflective universe, okay? In show up parlance, what I'm saying is the world's going to show up for you as you show up to the world. You must believe that, because if you don't, you're going to forget yourself. And when you're pissed or peeved, you're going to complain. Like, no, because you don't want the world to complain back. That's not a good day. So the second belief is that you're impacting everyone. They're absorbing how you are showing up. They can't not, right? Can you ever look at someone's face and really have no idea what they're feeling inside? No. You feel it, because that's how humans are designed. We wouldn't have survived without this. So you're impacting everyone in every moment, and because of that, you're accountable. Those are the beliefs, right? Underneath that comes a whole bunch of other stuff, which means there's a symbiosis and a mutuality of life that shows up with and for you. Things don't happen to you. They show up for you. So every challenge that you've had is uniquely designed, Dave, explicitly for you to help you be who you're designed to be. So thank it. Live with gratitude. When something pisses you off, say, whoa, what's this about? This really just grabbed my whole body and put me into rage. Whoa, what is this about? Why did this happen, right? And then you step back and reflect on it. This is kind of getting me to slow down right now. It's getting me to reset. I was pretty wound up. You see what I mean? There's a way of living, okay? And your whole life will become entrepreneurship. Why? Because you're constantly creating how the world shows up for you.
Okay. All right. And Marcy, with everything you've done with the consulting and the books and the speaking and the TED Talks, what's next for you?
Oh my God, this is my legacy. Like more, just a continuance. I'm doing many more speeches. I'm doing a lot of really big speeches. I'm doing a lot of executive work now, which is basically training the trainer, right? So that it pervades through. I'm always interested in companies coming to me saying, we want to embed your thinking and stuff about showing up in our curriculum, in our training, in our books. I just edited a book where someone had a chapter on me and showing up in their book. That means a lot. That's success for me. So just always showing up. That's what there is. There's no next step. And anyone who says, oh, there's a next step, you got to ask yourself, you're not who you want to be already? Let's look at that.
Okay. And when you look at your whole journey from the stuttering and all the childhood issues, and then what you turned it into and this incredible career that you've had, what's been the best part of it for you?
Oh my God. I mean, the fact that I get to use my own struggles to contribute in a positive way to the world.
Okay. Love that.
And everyone can do that. This isn't a Marcy Axelrod anything. Like everyone can live this life.
Love that. All right. And Marcy, if people are inspired, they want to hear more about what you do, look at more of your work, what's the best way people can find you online?
Yeah, so choosetoshow.com is my very old, outdated website. So don't judge me for it. I just don't choose to spend my time fixing that. There's a contact page on that. I'm really easy to find.
Okay. All right. We will link all that in the show notes, as well as those slides that are coming. We'll link that in the show notes as well for everyone. All right. Well, Marcy, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing all this incredible wisdom from your journey with our listeners. We greatly appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, Dave. Thank you.